All right. Welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, here with my co-host, Matt. Tonight, we have a very special guest, Coach Josh Jones from Bearden High School in Tennessee, in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's the head football coach. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill Podcast.
Hey, man. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys having us on.
So, Coach, tonight, I know we just talked right before this. If you're listening and you normally watch on YouTube, Coach had the greatest presentation anyone has ever seen, is what he told me. But then his laptop apparently decided to die tonight. So we're still going to go through it. Obviously, we want to do the podcast for everybody listening, but we will hopefully have that presentation for you if you want to look at after the podcast. We'll upload to the Google Drive that's in the description down below on YouTube. And Spotify and Apple. So, Coach, tonight we're going to talk a little quarterback play and pass game organization, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, great. Let's. I'm going to go ahead and like we do with every guest. I'm going to give you the mic. Go ahead and take control and walk us through it, and we will be the dumb guys that ask you questions all the way through.
Man, real. I'm going to be real informal, so please stop me at any time. Sometimes I get long-winded, so stop me anytime that you got questions.
We're not very formal people, so you're good.
I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. Yeah, apologize about the presentation mishap. I promise you, though, if you want it, you will get it. I'll get it to these guys, and they can get it to you however. Because I have it nice, and I won't call it the best ever, like Coach said, but it's got some good verbiage on it. I'm gonna touch on.
Set you up there.
I'm shooting from the hip. I'm gonna touch on as many of it as much of it I can remember. It's stuff what we do every day, so it's not just a BS presentation that looks good at a clinic. It's stuff that we do every day. So most of the stuff I'm going to get to touch on because we do it every day. We actually live it. We just don't just go put it on in a clinic and try to put on a front or anything. But going to talk some quarterback play stuff. Everything I've learned from somebody else. I'm a very humble guy. I've not invented anything when it comes to the game of football. I've coached for a really long time. I've been very fortunate and blessed to learn from some really good people, and I've just kind of stolen their ideals and kind of shaped them into how I do things. And again, I've not invented nothing. So everything I've learned, I've learned from somebody else, and I'm an open book. So got questions, feel free to ask anytime. But first thing, and this won't be in order because I'm not on presentation because I'm shooting from the hip, but like with quarterbacks, I think everything starts with their feet. So, we're going to tie every drop to the concept. And I'll explain that a little bit detailed when I get into some of these pass game organization stuff. But we literally tie every single drop to the concept. And again, I'll go to some further detail on that. We meet with our quarterbacks all the time. Our quarterbacks get a ton of freedom at the line of scrimmage. Obviously, there's plays called and so forth, but they got a lot of decision making they get to make at the line of scrimmage when it comes to that. And the only way I know to actually get to do that is meet with them all the time to get them thinking kind of like how we think a little bit as coaches. And like I tell them all the time, man, it's very fun offense to play in, but it sucks sometimes being a quarterback because while your buddies are getting out of practice and leaving or whatever, or coming in and practice at, let's say, 4 o'clock, you got to be there early to meet, and then sometimes you got to stay after to meet again after it's over. So, but they love it, and I've been blessed to coach a bunch of ball junkies as kids, and they can't meet enough, and they want to ask questions all the time and so forth. But some pass game organization. So everything I've done or that we do at Bearden High School is put into, you can call it a bucket. Some people call them buckets. Some people, I've heard them called, a family of a concept or whatever, and things like that. So like in no particular order, we have what we call like a scan read. A scan read for us would be something that starts with like some form of like a high-low in the boundary, we'll call it. And we'll have some kind of we'll have some kind of vertical high-low in the boundary. It could be whatever the concept is, might be off a corner per se. And then we bring horizontal routes into the quarterback's vision. And the old school air raid, Y cross concept is one of the first ones that come to mind for us on those scan reads. And it's we'll start in the boundary with boundary number 1. Everything we teach at Bearden is conceptually. But at boundary number 1, he's going to run a must outside release, vertical. All right, we're going to try to run through the corners outside shoulder. And then number 2 is going to run what we call a 4-step speed out. We'll say we're in 2x2. And then go over to the field. Field number 2 is going to run the crossing route. Our depth on that, we like to be, under Sam, over Mike, somewhere around 16 to 18 yards once we get over, over the ball and stuff. And then I know a lot of people like doing the or some type of curl or post curl on the backside. We've just found it better for us. What works for us, not make us any smarter than anybody. What works best for us, is we run a what we call a dagger route. It's just a dig is all it is. But digs for us are 10 to 12 yards. A dagger's 15. So since he's later in the read, we don't want him getting there too quick on a 10 to 12. So we just push it back to 15 and call it a dagger. And then we'll check swing the back to the field to hold the flat defender to the field there, and we just scan read it, high low. I tell the quarterback this on this one, your footwork's going to be 3 and hitch. During your 3-step drop is when we're working the high low side. At the top of your drop, if you do not have a yes, not a maybe, anything but yes is a no. All right. If you do not have a definite yes that I'm throwing the football off what the corner just did for either my vertical or for the whole shot or for the 4-step speed out, then the answer is no. And I'm going to hitch, and I'm going to my eyes will immediately go to cross when I hitch. All right. There is no hitch, and I'm still looking in the boundary to see what might come open here in a minute. You know what I mean? So, and it takes a lot of time. It's some details, but then we come from after we hitch up to the cross. All right. If it's there, we throw it. If the safety cuts the cross, then we go to our end cut, that was dagger. And if it's not there, obviously we just flip our hips and feet and throw it out there to the back. A lot of times, most of the time on that concept, we hit the cross a lot. We've hit the dagger a lot. But, the purpose of the play is obviously cross for us, but we don't want to give it. If they're going to give us something easy in the boundary off a simple high-low, we're going to take it. As the old adage goes, as a quarterback, you can't go broke taking a profit. So that for us would be considered a scan read, and we've got other ones, but that just gives you. I'm going to try to give one past concept example per type bucket we put it into. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Coach. Questions, absolutely. So you talk about how obviously your access or whatever your 3-step drop throw over there. As you come across to the Y cross in the dig, what particular are they reading at that point?
You talking about the quarterback?
Yeah, so as the quarterback, right, he comes off, he says, hey, the out and the go isn't open. All right, I'm coming now to the cross. What's he reading or what's he looking for on that at that point?
Yeah, he's just basically looking to see what kind of window we have because we should be behind. We should be behind the underneath defenders. Those hook droppers, some teams drop at 10, some 12. 14 usually is going to be a ceiling, a high max for someone. And, we want our depth to be at 16 to 18. So we should be behind the hook droppers. A lot of those guys end up reading your eyes anyway. So when your eyes start, let's say to my right, they start going this way. And it just happens, especially if it's a 2-high shell, they just happen. And it's good versus 1-high too. It's good versus all coverages. That's why I love it, GVA. But you usually see like a big opening. You know what I mean? And then that's when the cross pops and you just hit it. And then, like I said, the safety sometimes will jump it. We call it cutting the cross. If he cuts the cross, then that means it leaves just a big void usually for the end cut coming in. Because no matter how good that corner is, guarding a 15-yard end cut is pretty daggone tough in high school football. So when safety cuts the cross, the end cut usually has a huge void there, a big window to hit it in. And if all the underneath defenders just sink, get out of there, he's just going to flip his hips and feet and swing it out there to the back and make them go tackle it. Hopefully we got a good athlete there and they're going to go tackle him in space, which is not an easy thing to do in high school football this day and age.
Yeah, Matt, I know this is very similar to how you threw Y cross, right?
Exactly the same. Coach, I got a question. You're talking about buckets and this being for scan read. This is your high-low into boundary. Mm-hmm. Are you teaching all your high-low, like let's say you go into installation, are you teaching all your high-low into boundary first and hitting that whole bucket? Or is that something you install one piece at a time?
That's a good question. So we instill everything on this particular play we instill everything by concept. So I don't know if this answers your question per se, but I teach everything conceptual to the quarterback. It is boundary 1, boundary 2. If we're to say it's a 2x2 deal, field 1, field 2. We don't get enamored for the quarterback with the X has this, the Z has that. We teach them all conceptually because that way we want to move guys around. Sometimes somebody's going to run that cross route is not the easiest route in the world to run. So sometimes, if a certain formation always puts a bad cross route runner there, then I need to tag something within our formation to move that guy so we can get our better cross runner route. to F number 2. But this one's always is a boundary to field read for us every time. Not everything we do is that way, but that's just how we do on this particular concept, how we teach it. But, and hopefully that answered your question, but we'll drill. So we'll drill sometimes, just simple. I'll go play corner, and I'm terrible, but I'll go play corner, and I'll act like I want to drive the speed out, trap the flat, and we hit the whole shot at 15 yards, throwing at the top of his helmet, and then I'll back off, and he'd be hitting the speed out, or we'll play a 3-down drop 18. They're going to take both of those away because the corner's going to be soft and bail, and the jack linebacker at the boundary is going to get in the window of your speed out. And we'll do that too. That way he's got to get off of it, and he'll come to his cross within his footwork and all that. I'm a big believer in everything we do. We drill for the quarterback before we ever even throw routes on air with the receivers. We will literally sit there and drill those things before they ever even get to even go throw a speed out or a whole shot, or they'll get to throw the cross or the in cut or anything like that. So that's kind of a long answer, but hopefully I gave you somewhat of a answer for it.
No, that helps.
On that drill that you talked about, so before you go to the wide receivers, you talked about how you play the overhang or the corner or whatever. Yeah, is the quarterback actually throwing the ball in that drill, or are you just looking at where they're going with their eyes?
Yeah, we'll do it both ways. Yeah, we'll get him to throw. Like so we're a big school. We're 6A, which is the largest classification in Tennessee. So we've got about 125 kids in our program. So every coach on my staff has guys he wants out of his drill for a little bit. So I'll go get. hope no players are watching this, but I'll go get some catchers, and we usually end up playing fetch, not catch. But I'll go get some stationary targets, and I'll put them where they should be, about finish at, and then I'll go be the defender, and just we break it down to the nth degree that way for the quarterback. I just think it helps, whether it's right or wrong. That's just kind of how I've learned it, how we do it.
Yeah,
and I know it's just. I know it's helped our quarterbacks tremendously getting to breaking everything down from the little small details.
No, I love that. Everything about that answer was great. Matt, I'm definitely clipping that one. That'll be perfect. That's a perfect one for TikTok, right? Don't worry, Coach. I can tell you there's not very many players follow us. It's only coaches. No one wants to get that in depth in X's and O's with us. So
that's all good.
Perfect. No, Coach, I love everything about that. Talking about the concept, how you guys work at boundary to field.
Yep.
And we've found, obviously, growing up, I've been around all sorts of different, I'm a defensive guy, but been around a lot of different OCs that are going to full field read it. They're going to go 2 high, 1 high, all that. But I've seen kind of this flip back to, hey, we're going to kind of read a single side and then come across and throw it to what we feel is the open window.
Yep.
And is the reason for that, I'm just curious, after your first read, basically you're in that point where you're like, all right, we got to get rid of the ball, so let's just find the next window and let it go. Is it for a speed thing, or why particularly do you do that?
Why not tie 2 of them together? Is that what you're saying? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, after the initial read, you came back and you said, hey, we're looking for these 2 open windows. Is that just to simplify it for the quarterback and let him rip it, or what in particular are you doing there?
Yeah, so the premise of the play is the cross and the in cut on the back.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But if somebody's going to give us an easy completion in the boundary, we're going to take it. You know what I mean? And I tell my quarterbacks this, if we call this play on 3rd and 13, all right, we're going to cheat a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to work the concept. Your eyes are still going to start where I told you to start at, just because I don't ever want to change that. But we're going to cheat a little bit, but if it's an opener or 1st and 10 or 2nd, I don't care what. If they're going to give us a 4-step speed out the boundary, we're going to take it because that's an easy completion. So it's basically like taking a concept and then, like in the RPO world, I'm a big RPO guy and I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but your RPOs will have a pre-snap option.
Yeah, the access throw.
Yeah, and then you got a post-snap option. So it's kind of similar to that a little bit, I guess you could say, in the drop back world of it. But it just, like I said, if they're going to, we see so much in 2x2 stuff. We see so much, trap in the boundary. Everybody plays 2 read or palms or whatever you want to call it. There's 100 names for it. But, they're going to trap that speed out. Safety don't get wide enough, you can get the whole shot. All right, safety gets wide, great. That means we probably definitely got the cross at that point if he's that wide. Unless the field safety cuts it. If he cuts it, then we definitely got the in cuts. We just kind of feel like we got the marker last as long as we hold up in protection. And you can get that out on 3 and a hitch. No matter what your protection's like, if you can't get off 3 and a hitch, you ain't got no passing game anyway. So,
love it, Coach.
My opinion.
No, I'm coach. Again, I'm a defensive guy. I'm still trying to figure out how to stop Y cross many years later.
It's a good concept, man. We like to, if we got coverages we like it better against, obviously. And one thing I didn't say that I should have, when we install every single pass play, I tell the quarterbacks, here's what it's good against. Here's what gives this concept trouble. And we feel that we feel Y cross is GVA, a good versus all, so therefore we teach it that way. Now certain ones can give us a little bit, but we got 5 out. If they don't bring pressure because we're backs check releasing, we got 5 out, and we got 5 eligibles, and surely to goodness we can find a complete. There's as Tom Moore told Peyton Manning, I seen on some kind of video recently, there's a completion out there somewhere. It's up to the quarterback to find it.
It's a great quote.
Yeah, it was. That's why I referenced him, because it did not come from me, but it is great.
Love it. All right, so there's Y cross. What do we move? What's the next bucket here?
All right, the old, probably one of the more simpler ones. I would consider a scan read a little bit more advanced. High school kids can do it. We do it every year. Been doing it for a long time. But I would consider a scan read probably a little bit more advanced, because you got to put some maintenance into it. But I love it because it's got good answers. But anyways, moving on, peer progression. This one's probably, sweep the board, some people might call it. This one, pretty much everybody does. I mean, I would think a 6th grader, could handle a peer progression concept, as long as you get his eyes going in the right location. I'm not a big fan of, hey, we're going to put this play in. It's 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Where do my eyes start? You have to, on everything we do, and I know I'm skipping a little bit, on everything we do, like I talked about, we're going to tie the feet to it, right? And we're going to put his eyes somewhere, all right? We're going to tell him what defender where his eyes is going to start at. And we learn all that long before I ever teach a play. And I don't mean the same day and an hour into it. Long before we ever teach a play, we sit in quarterback meetings and we do nothing but defensive structure, all right? If I'm going to ask him to read a hook defender, if I'm going to ask him to read a flat defender, if I'm going to ask him to read a boundary safety, a boundary corner, a field flat defender, whatever, if I'm going to ask him to read somebody, I got to make sure he knows who he's reading. So therefore, we're going to always have his eyes starting somewhere on every pass play we have. So peer progression, all right, really easy deal. We've got several of these. The first one, my presentation's got all this on there, so I'm going to shoot from the hip. But one of the first ones that comes to mind is, we'll say, boundary mesh. All right, boundary mesh is a really easy deal that's real popular in football. You turn on any game that's on TV on the weekend, you're going to see some form of mesh being ran. I can guarantee it, no matter if it's NFL or college. Again, how we do it might not be how everybody else does it, but it's, again, just how we do it. So I'll start with boundary mesh. All right, we'll say we're in 2x2. All right, we could be in 10 personnel, 11 personnel, whatever. But we'll say we're in just a standard 2x2. All right. Number 1 in the boundary, he's going to run what I call the high mesh. It's going to be at the pre-snap toes of the linebackers. All right, about 4 yards essentially. All right, number 1 in the boundary. So B2 is going to run what I call the sit route. You can also turn that into a dig or a basic, whatever you want to call it, if you want to keep somebody on the move. We just do sit route. All right, a lot of times we run that with the tight end. We put the tight end there. Creates a good little rub in case if it's man there, on the high mesh guy, on the high mesher. That sit route's at 9 to 10 yards. All right, we want to press vertical. We want to get into the A gap, and we do not want to uncover. All right, we don't want to go in business for ourselves, as they call it. So got to be a good teammate. I'm gonna get 9 to 10 yards over the ball in the A gap, and I'm gonna bring everything around at once, and I call it getting big in the paint. All right, and if you're open, great. Hopefully, we'll throw it to you. If you're not open, again, don't be a good teammate. Don't go uncovering and mess up a window for somebody else. So don't go in business for don't go in business for yourself comes in. But so the sit route. So going to the back will be in the boundary. He's going to have a rail route, free release. He has no blitz responsibility. It's a 5-out deal. All right. Field number. You can go a couple different ways here if you want to. If you think you're getting some man coverage, you can put field 1 on the low mesh and put field 2 on some kind of expansion corner. Just whatever, for the love of the game. He is not part of the read. So you can, if you want to go that, you can go expansion corner, kind of he'll outside release, and then work up and run a corner route. It kind of creates a natural rub there for the low mesher. And the mesher will also get a rub route coming from the high mesher. All right. And we're going to read that. Progression read it, sweep the board. We're going to go rail to the back. That's going to be number 1. Low mesh is going to be number 2. The sit route is going to be number 3. and the high mesh is going to be number 4. And how I tie his feet to this one, we're going to 3 and throw the rail, and we're going to 3 and hitch the low mesh, and we will hitch again, obviously, if we get off the low mesh and come up to the sit route. All right. Eyes will start on the corner. Typically how it works out, if it's zone coverage, we're probably not getting the rail, right? He's going to zone off, and he's going to run right to the running back running the rail route's going to run right to the corner, and he's going to eat him up, and that's fine. He's a good teammate, all right? Then we've got a little middle triangle there for the mesh, for the low mesh, sit, high mesh. We got a little middle triangle there. They probably got 2 underneath defenders, 2 hook droppers. As I know, I'm not real good at math because I'm from Tennessee and I'm hillbilly, but I know 2 hook defenders should not be able to guard a middle triangle route because we got three guys in the vicinity. So that's kind of how we do it. If it's man, we'll probably end up throwing the rail. If it's zone, we usually just work on a little middle triangle there and move on. A lot of times it ends up being the low mesh. And that's what we call we do field mesh too, but that's what we call boundary mesh for us.
Sorry, my mic was off. There we go again.
Yeah.
Now, are you condensing splits at all on mesh?
I love it. Yes, you don't have to, but I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
The guy running the high mesh, we got one of our tags. I'm giving some of the trade secrets, but I don't care because I learned something from everybody else. We call it crumb. It talks for C. The C is compressed. The B is for boundary. So we'll go formation tag crumb with it because you don't want to run the high mesh from a wide split. You want to tighten that down. But we get in what we call double squeeze dose, which is we're squeezed on both sides.
Yep.
And it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. It creates a lot of mess there for those hook defenders that are taught to collision crossers. Don't let him cross your face. You're a defensive guy. You know what y'all say.
Yeah.
Now
to be honest with you, can press sets. We don't collision guys in that. We tell them don't do it because you're just, like you said, it's so tight. If you try to collision the guy going away from you, the guy coming to you is going to run by you by the time you're done collisioning him. So
right.
It's one of those. I mean, Matt, you know the rule. When we get double compressed set, what do we run on defense?
I don't know.
Double corner blitz every time. Here we go. No.
Double corner blitz, right?
There you
Coach,
go. Gotta have it.
You're reading the rail route first. Everybody that's been watching football over the last couple of years, you see, like you said, you see this play every single game from both teams, trying to hit that rail route. Are you running it just with your running back offset from the quarterback? Obviously into the boundary, it's a little bit, it hits there quicker. So you kind of talk about what your quarterback's trying to look to see. Because I always had the issue with running the rail back route. When the quarterback tries to lock on it, he kind of telegraphs it and lays that ball out there. Are you looking for something that's going to hit quick out there, or you tell him to put it on a dime? Like, we're gonna throw a laser, or are you laying it out? How are you coaching your quarterback up on that rail route?
I'm telling him this. I'm telling him pretty much if it's man, we can throw the rail. If it's not man, we're not going to probably be able to throw the rail. I can't expect. I never coach a kid to expect the defense to bust coverage. If I'm calling a play expecting the defense to bust coverage, and I'm calling the wrong play, the way I look at it. So, does that mean sometimes when it is zone, could he have probably fit the rail in there and we missed because I've coached him the different way? Yes, but at the same time, I just think it's best and safer in the long run. The squeeze worth the juice, as they say. But no, so if it's man and the corner chases that high mesh, I mean, his eyes are going to light up. He's going to go 3 and throw. He's going to open crossover plant, stick it on the rail route. It's probably going to be a line ball. We're probably not going to float it. And if it's not, we're going to get off that thing pretty quick because when we go 3 and hitch, like I tell him, when you go 3 and hitch, at that point is not when your eyes become on the underneath defender. You're eliminating the rail route during your drop. But before you get to the top of your drop, you know you're throwing that or not. So you're eliminating the rail route during your drop. And again, not a high maintenance play. We do got to rep it some because it does get a little sticky a little bit. There's times. I've coached some young quarterbacks before, and there's times they wanted to throw that rail route in the zone coverage because the corner just was so soft. And he could, but that's just, whether that's right or wrong, that's just kind of how we do it. And let me back up. One thing I didn't talk about during my quarterback stuff, and it'll be on this presentation, is we go through a pre-snap process on all of our pass game stuff. Safeties, overhangs, corners. All right, we call it SOC. I didn't invent it. I got it from a guy that's a lot smarter than me years ago, and it's been great for our quarterbacks. Our quarterback gives me feedback on our quarterback, through the years has given me feedbacks over how much it's helped them. Safeties, what do we want to know? How many are there, and what's their depth and width? All right, overhangs, what do we want to know about them? We want to know, are they related to the box? Or are they related to the receiver? If he's related to the box, we know he's probably a flat defender of some kind or something. If he's related to the receiver, I'm sorry, if he's related to the receiver, we know he's probably a flat defender of some kind. If he's related to the box, we know he's probably coming. He's a pressure guy. All right, and then last in the SOC deal, SOC is corners, and all we want to know there is, do we got cushion or no cushion? Peer progression stuff that don't help you as much, because our peer progression stuff is usually GVA stuff, universal plays I call them, which are good, should be good for the most part, versus all coverages. We've got plays that aren't good versus all coverages, but those fall into some different categories. So anything that I'm going to put in the peer progression family for us should be a play that's going to be good versus all coverages.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good deal there.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the rail. Matt, where I saw rail this weekend was breaking down that North Dakota State game. They threw a rail route for a touchdown to the boundary. They went a little YY with jet sweep motion, then threw the rail right behind it. I was like, good Lord, guys.
I like, so we got in that, like I just talked about a minute, we got a fifth receiver that's not part of the read. He's for the love of the game. I love to use him in motion in that. And we take him away from the boundary. We usually start him in the boundary, motion him to the field, because I don't want to bring him to the play, obviously, and bring attention. But we usually start him in the boundary, bring him to the field, and he runs just whatever because he's got for love of the game. And that eye candy on stuff like that for the defense is good. They start making checks and having to communicate, and they've all got different motion rules and so forth. So we've had a lot of luck with that, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, no, I love it. Just the different ways that coaches are getting really good with it defensively. When guys run that jet sweep and then you have the running back lead like he's blocking, and then he's running the rail route, and you're just like, good Lord, like, stop it, guys.
That's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've even seen guys now, they'll have the running back run the rail, and then the guy who faked the jet sweep will follow him, and they'll throw, they'll basically back shoulder fade it to the second guy. They have literally two guys running the rail route. And I'm like, yeah, that breaks every rule in our book right there.
Yeah.
There's no shot we're covering that guy.
Right. Yeah. That is tough. Wow. That's tough stuff.
Yeah, it's, and you can't do that a lot, but, offenses get away with it every once in a while. I feel like sometimes they're like, what if we just do this crazy thing this one time? And for some reason, it always happens against you, right? If you're the DC, you're like, they haven't run this crap all year, and here it was against me. So
Right.
I love it. All right, so went through your scan read, pure progression.
Yep.
What's the next bucket?
We've got coverage progression, and this is really simple. This would be for a kind of a beginner stage, I guess you would call it. Peer progression, you can kind of make it a beginner stage if you want to, but you can get a little more advanced if you want as well. Just kind of depends on what some people like chocolate ice cream, some people like strawberry. But coverage progression for us is literally one high, two high. I mean, it don't get no more easier than that. And if it's one high, we're going to work. Let's say we got the old school double slant concept. All right. So on our two high side, we're going to run double slants. On our one high side, we're going to run slant flat because it's a better play. You should never, ever, ever throw double slants in the cover three. The windows are too tight. So I like to layer my slants. All right. Again, I was, I didn't invent that. Learned it from a guy a lot smarter than me. Played quarterback at a really, really, really high level. Made a lot of sense. So we started doing that years back, and it's been really good for us. So what I mean by that is this. So our double slant will be like a traditional slant by number two. All right, 3-step slant. All right, 45-degree angle that everybody in the world knows what nose is on slant. Our outside guy, he'll run what we call an under route. Some people call them fins. It's basically 5 yards and straight in. And they break. They don't break simultaneous. And it's better for the quarterback because we read that inside out. We read it slant to under, and it just, again, it works for us. It's one of our probably better pass plays this year, one of at least in terms of production. But really, really easy deal. If it's too high, double slants is a great answer versus that structure. So we just go inside out on our slants. If it's cover three, one high, all right, one high zone, excuse me. Then we're going to go backside. We're going to go slant flat, the old school NFL West Coast Dragon. We're going to go off the flat defender. Flat defender chases the flat. Great. Throw the slant behind his ear hole. He backs up, pauses. The flat route out leverages him. Great. Throw the flat route. Skim the breastplate. Premium accuracy. Kill his momentum. Kill his yak. skim the breastplate, give him a runner's ball, let him go get us some stats. So really, coverage progression for us is literally 1 high, 2 high. 1 high, we're working this side. 2 high, we're working that side. I mean, that's really kind of a beginner level concept for us.
Yeah. First off, Matt, are you guys like long lost brothers? Because everything he says sounds really familiar.
Leveling the slants. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's something that I didn't start doing until Coach Heupel at UCF, mentioned it, talked about it. So I didn't know if you'd heard him talk about leveling the slants and bringing that second slant as an in route and how much it increases the quarterback's accuracy on that. Yeah. We changed our slant routes in 2017, 2018 to be able to 2018 to do that. Yeah. And we saw increased accuracy. It's easier for the quarterback to see the guy running flat across the field than an angle, especially when he's coming from the outside. So, I love that stuff. And if coaches aren't out there trying to understand that, reach out. We'll help you grasp that concept. But it increases your quarterback's accuracy and increases your completion percentage.
Yeah. So the guy that told me was a guy that y'all might have heard of. I say this jokingly. Kurt Warner. He's been awesome. He's very active on Twitter, as y'all have seen, I'm sure.
Oh, we know.
And he has been. I got in on the earlier stages of it somehow several years ago. I think 2019 or 2020 was when I went back and started looking at some of our interaction and in my DMs. But anyways, it just makes so much sense about when they break at the same time. How can you read them? You know what I mean? Yeah. But when they don't break simultaneous, then you can read them inside out. It's really easy. So, and that is a much more quarterback friendly throw. The outside slant coming in flat is a much more quarterback friendly throw. It's a much more friendly route for the quarterback. Who comes in at that angle. So that's great stuff.
Yeah. Now I tell a joke about Kurt Warner. I think we talked about this on a prior podcast. We had like a random tweet that I wouldn't say go viral, but a lot of coaches picked it up. And literally, Matt, I think it was when we just tweeted our favorite guys on Twitter to follow. And then some other guys came in and got in big arguments because they were calling people Twitter coaches and whiteboard coaches and all this. And somehow Kurt Warner entered the argument at one point. And we're like, Kurt Warner's in our thread right now. And I have no idea what's going on. Like, it was one of those, we tweeted it, didn't think it was a very controversial thing. And like, I went away and I was doing something the day I picked up my phone. It was like, you have 122 alerts. And I was like, oh God, what did we do? Yeah. Like, we never have that many notifications, but
right. That's
so
good.
1 high, 2 high read question for you.
Yep.
What about teams? Cause I know I did this a lot, that post safety or post snap rotate. Does that change anything for you? Like they start 2 high if they're like a Rip Liz team, they like to rotate week late.
Yeah.
Does that change anything?
We use Afro terms, away from rotation.
Okay.
Away from rotation. So if they rotate, all right. So let's say they're a 2 high structure, all right, and the boundary safety at the snap, all right, is going to roll to the post safety to the middle of the field. Strong safety is going to come down. We're going to see that rotation, all right, and then we're going slant flat backside off the flat defender.
Okay, so yeah, it's just real. You're just going to work away from rotation.
Yeah.
No, that's a nice simple rule for it because it happens so fast, right? You got to have something that you're used to doing. So that's a good answer to it.
Yep.
Great. So are there any other buckets here that we're going to after this one?
Got a few more, man, and I'll speed up.
Of course.
Probably take
Coach, you don't need to speed up. We're here. This is what we do. We love talking ball.
All right. Next, key progression. Some people call this, maybe you might have heard it called, as progression with an option. A lot of times this comes out of 3x1. It can be, man, I wish I had it on my presentation because I probably have a much better example because I'm kind of drawing a blank here. But it can be something like, what is a 3x1? We'll say we've got old school double post or 3x1 open. We got double post with a flat control by number 3, we'll call it, to the 3 receiver side. Backside, we've got just we'll say a vertical route, all right. And we're going to if a lot of teams like playing in 3x1, they like to play. Some people call it poach, some people call it cheat, stress, 100 different names for it, right? So backside safety goes over and goes to the field, tries to poach, all right. Then we're going to just work backside to our one-on-one route, all right. And if not, he stays in the boundary, stays on the hash. He stays on the hash or outside the hash. Great. We're going to go inside post, outside post, down to the flat. So that's we call that a key progression read. All right, we key a defender, and then we got a progression read off of it. So some people call it PWO, progression with an option, but I just call it key progression.
So if he's like, again, I assume you guys see a lot of quarters because it seems like that's where you're starting with most coverages.
Yep.
If they're, strong or weak rotation cover 3 there, who's your key guy now?
It's still going to be, if they start in 2 split safety and that boundary safety is the one that rotates to the middle of the field, it's him. We treat that just like poach. So we're going to go backside. Okay. And we're going to put the back on some kind of, a check wide, a check swing, or something like that. If we don't win backside, we just got an outlet for the quarterback. We don't get stuck patting the ball.
And if the boundary guy rotates into the boundary, you're working the double post concept, right?
I don't. We in our leagues, I think we play against some really good coach teams, but we hardly ever see anyone rotate away from trips in our league because. Again, people fear. I guess the heavier. Some teams are going to go 3-by-1. They're going to throw it to the single every time, and then those teams probably do get that kind of rotation. I guess I don't know. I'm not that team. We're going to be equal. We're going to probably throw it as many times to the 3 receiver side. We're a high volume. I'm a high volume guy, and if it's game 7 for us, and those evil defensive guys have got all 6 of our games, they've probably got 30 concepts they've got to work that week in Pascal, just to get ready for us. So we're going to. So if we get somebody rotating weak versus 3-by-1, they're probably going to have bigger fish to fry. They might have got us on that play, but it won't.
Coach, I'm a big weak rotation guy. In fact, that's what we put in.
People do it. We just don't ever see it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm like the flip side. I argue with defensive guys all the time. I'm like, look, I think your base should be weak rotate. The only time we ever strong rotated, it was always buzz, and it was always because of stick. It's the only, and we would basically rob the stick.
Absolutely, pretty much.
Because that was the one thing we couldn't cut. It was like, look, stick. If you can run zone and play stick, the only answer we had was 3 buzz.
Right.
Because we were split safety, like you said. We're a split safety quarters team. Well, if you can run zone stick, quarters can't stop it.
Right.
Because that Mike is the guy who's in conflict. So it was like, that was our answer was we ran 3 buzz, and kids were like, why do we never call this? I'm like, because we only need it for one thing, guys. If they ain't running it, we're not calling it. So
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of interesting. And I come from learning a lot from those Saban guys, and that's always the first install is weak rotation cover 3.
Yeah.
But it's also playing with the nickel most of the time. So I guess if you don't play with the nickel, it's a little different.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Makes sense.
Yep. Curious. All right, Coach. So next bucket, or Matt, sorry, did you have any questions for that one? That's pretty
Absolutely not. We're good.
All right, next bucket.
All right, we'll go with movement key. Somebody might call it defender key, key read, whatever, but we just call it movement key. Really, really, really easy for the high school guy, in my opinion. Kind of like an either or. All right, we got snag flat. Everybody knows what snag is. It's an awesome concept. I love it. We got tons of variations off of it. It's one of my favorite deals to do each year. I need to call it more because I don't call it enough. But snag flat off the flat defender. All right, he chases the flat route. Great, throw the snag. He backs up. We out leverage the flat route. Great, throw the flat route. It's kind of like an either or deal. Just movement key. That's just an example of a movement key for us. With snag, there's other deals with the Mike backer can give you trouble. All that we've got answers for all that stuff. But movement key for us is really simple. Just key a defender, and what does he do? Don't get more. I think again, if a kid's really struggling with progressions for whatever rhyme or reason, he don't know where to go with the ball. I think you can definitely isolate it down to, hey man, read the flat defender and what's he do? Yeah. I love to horizontal stretch the flat defender. That's kind of what snag flat is. And I love to also vertical stretch the flat defender. So either ors, man. I'm a big fan of picking on the old flat defender.
Yeah, it's our podcast coming out tomorrow, right? They're talking all the flood variations, and that's picking on that flat defender, right? It's a lot of that. So
yep,
love it. All right, next bucket.
It's probably our last one. Mirrored. All right, and some people may call this best look side or pick a side or whatever you want to call it. Mirrored for us, it could be. Let me think of an example because we don't do a ton of it. The old the old NFL Hank's a mirrored deal for us. But let's see. I'll give you one better than that. Mirrored. Okay, we'll go with the old Hoss hit scene. All right, doing an all-star game this week, coaching an all-star game this week, and that's one of our concepts we're running. But all right, hitch seam. I'm gonna tell my quarterback on this concept. We're gonna pick our side based on softest corner, tightest flat defender. All right, that's gonna be pre-snap. All right, so we got locked hitches by one on both sides, 2x2 deal. All right, we got locked hitches by one, and then we've got a lock seam, and then we've got a seam read from the other one. All right, and there's various ways you can say which one's which. How do you know? You can make it call side, away side, boundary field, whatever. There's different rules you can use there. But so we're gonna tell our quarterback, pick your side pre-snap based off softest in this world, in this bucket. We're gonna say pick your side based off softest corner, tightest flat defender. All bets are equal. I always want to go shortest throw. All right, so because they're both at 7. Great. I'll just go with the short. Let's work the boundary. All right. Or I give my guys this too. I'm always like, hey, who's our best guy? Throw it to him. Who's their worst guy? Let's throw it at that guy. Kind of deal. So, but if all bets are equal, we're gonna go shortest throw. Post snap in that concept, we're gonna read off the flat defender. He collisions or carries 2. Great. Put your cleats to the ground. Throw the hitch. He pushes through 2 right now. All right. 2 gets a clean release. He's in your hitch window. We're going to go seam, back. We're going to protect the ball. We're going to check the back down over the ball, So if he if he pushes through 2 right now, he's in my hitch window. We're going seam, back. Really, really easy concept. We like it. It's good versus cover 3, good versus cover 2. Now, against cover 2, your flat defender is who? The corner, right? So, therefore, well, there's no need to even read it. You're going seam, back right now. Your decision's made, So that takes a little bit just for quarterbacks to get used to it. You play a team that mixes up coverages and, you call hitch seam 4 times, you've thrown the hits 4 times, then there's no guarantee we're going to throw on the 5th. We still got to read the coverage, go through your sock. That's what we do it for, So, well, this time they ran cover 2, coach. Well, great. Go seam, back. We didn't have the hits versus cover 2. So it's just one of them simple deals. And, anybody can read softest corner, tightest flat defender.
Love it. So, Coach, you've been through, 5 or 6 buckets now. How many total pass concepts would you say that you have in the passing game?
Coach, I'm probably embarrassed to say because people are going to say I'm an idiot because I'm a high school coach. And how do you have that many? How do you
Who cares?
How do you work them? I would say, Coach, we're going to be anywhere from, probably 3 to 5, maybe 6 per bucket. We're going to have more than one for sure, but we're not going to, get crazy and have 12. But we're going to, I'm a high volume guy. We rep a ton out of stuff in spring. We rep a ton out of stuff in the summer. We rep a ton out of stuff in the fall camp. Now we get to the season, we don't carry in 6 buckets with 5 plays in each. We just kind of figure out by that time, we figure out what we're good at. What are we going to see this week in terms of structure? And we've got we've been repping it of some kind. They've got, we might get into a deal where we've repped something spring, summer, fall camp. We didn't use it week 1, didn't use it week 2, didn't even carry it in, so didn't even rep it. But we go into week 3, we know it, hey, bam, they run this a ton. I love this week. So we've got some recollection there. It's not going to be a brand new play that you've never repped. You've got some recollection there with your guys, and it just tends to go, whether that's the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it, that's just how we do it. And it tends, my experience, it tends to help that even though you might not have ran it since second week of July, but you've installed it. So, I mean, you sit through one of our install meetings as a quarterback, you got bombarded with information and details. I'm not paralysis by analysis, but I want to give them the answers to the test to the best of my ability, and I'm going to give them a ton of information. We install, we review the install, meet about the install, and then we test on the install. So each install we're going to basically do 4 times, and they're going to hit me say the same. The first time, it's overwhelming, big time. Because, oh my God, Coach, I come from this offense. All they told me to ever do is read the corner, But if you meet them the first time, meet them the second time, the third time, they start hearing me say this. I got a little generic analogy. If I ask a quarterback, hey, man, what's 5 plus 5? They're going to say 10. They're not going to think about it. They're not going to get their phone out. They're not going to count on their fingers. Well, when I ask them what to do on hit seam, I need them to answer it just as quick because on Friday nights, we got a play clock, So they're going to hear me say the same thing from February till August when we play. And some get it by March. Some it takes till June. But they're going to hear me saying the same stuff, softest corner, tightest flat defender. Like when we start back here in a few months, when we start back, my quarterback's been through this install already. Well, guess what? He's going to go through the same exact one, hear the same exact verbiage, the same. I'm going to treat him like he just got on my team the day before that meeting starts.
Yeah.
And they hear it so much, it just becomes easy for them in second nature.
Coach, I'm with you. Look, people who say less is more in my book are full of shit. More is more. And maybe it's different because, like you said, you're in the highest classification in Tennessee. I was in the highest classification in Florida. Look, I had 38 guys that only played defense. So maybe we could install more because I saw those 38 guys every day. So, like, look, I get it. If you're a coach who has, 8 guys playing both ways, I get less is more.
Right.
But if you're at a big school and you tell me that you get 38 kids every day and you can't put together 10 or 11 coverages on defense and pressure packages and 4 or 5 sub packages, I'm going to say you're a bad teacher. Yep. Because you had to, it was finding ways to get kids on the field. Well, guess what? I got my sophomore corner who can run like a deer. I'm with you, Coach. He's probably not going to learn our full defense, but you know what he can do? He can go play in a nickel package and cover man-to-man on the slot. So we put him in and we teach him to do that. Like, hey, when Trey was on the field, we ran these 3 things. He was either blitzing or he was covering man-to-man on those 3 plays.
Yep.
And so is that a whole new coverage for us? Yes, but not everyone had to learn that coverage, So I'm with you. I think if you're a good teacher and you can, like you said, that verbiage is the same with every coach on your defensive staff, and you do it enough times and you teach it the same way and you instill it, Coach, you can install as much as you want. And I'm a firm believer in that. I hate when coaches are like, that's too much. I'm like, get better at teaching.
Right. No, I'm with you. We platoon. So I tell you, our quarterback is with the quarterback coach for 2 hours every day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's just on the field. He's not over there running scout team. We've got a lot of coaches. So my quarterback coach ain't over servicing the defense half the practice or nothing like that. He is literally getting coached by the same coach for 2 hours every. I don't even count meeting time. We meet probably for 45 minutes, sometimes an hour daily. So he gets it told a lot to him, and it's funny. I'll tell a quick story. Not that anybody wants to hear my boring stories. I just finished my 3rd season at Bearden High School, and my first year coaching there had a young man. My man, his name was Carlos. He was awesome. Such a great young man. Such a great human being. He was a sophomore. Very intelligent kid. Challenged a little bit physically, but loved football. And, was good ways down the depth chart. But Carlos set in numerous installs, numerous quarterback meetings. All right. Carlos gave up football because it's a hard time commitment for us because we demand so much time of our quarterbacks. So Carlos gives up football. All right. This is 2022. I try to talk him out of it because he's just a good kid to have on the team, in the locker room, all that. He goes against my wishes. He comes to us this year, the 2nd week of the season. It's a senior now. All right. It's 2024. He comes to me the 2nd week of the season, and he's like, Coach, I want to play football. And typically you would not let that kid do that because he's missed all of the winter workouts and spring ball, all the non-fun stuff. He's missed every bit of it, right? But I got a soft place in my heart for Carlos, so I'm like, heck yeah, Carlos, man. You are more than welcome to come back and play football for us. This is no lie. This kid has not been in a quarterback meeting in 2 years. And even when he was on our team, he didn't get a lot of reps. So he didn't get to really do it a lot, but he sat in all those meetings and took notes. The very first day we were doing a deal with the quarterbacks, I love to do this on Wednesdays. I don't know why Wednesday's in season, but that's the day I do it. When we get done with our meeting, I make each one of them pick a play. And they got to draw on the board, and they got to coach me through it A through Z. If they miss a step, I get on their ass. All right? So they get up there, and I'm not going to leave Carlos out. I say, all right, Carlos, what do you got? Give me your favorite play. This is day one. And he's been on the team in 2 years. He draws up a play that we did not have in this year, but we did have in 2 years ago. He gets up there, and it's a scan read. It's smash drive. And y'all probably know what smash drive is. It's smashing the boundary, drive coming to the quarterback's vision. And he nails it from A to Z with all the coaching points. And he had no clue he was going to get asked that in front of the other quarterbacks. And he had no preparation. Hadn't sat in a quarterback meeting in over 2 years and drilled it. And it just goes to show when you meet enough and drill it in your head enough, it sticks with them. So
yeah, Coach, awesome. I'm gonna brag on you a little bit. That also means you're a pretty damn good teacher if they remember things
I
like
don't know
that.
about that. That's still
Look,
debatable.
you know what? I'll argue in your favor, Coach. I mean, look, I've chatted with you tonight, and it seems like you're a charismatic guy. You got some funny sayings, but I think that's a part of it. Your personality when you're teaching and coaching for kids to remember, right? If you're just dry and you're like, all right, here we go. It's smash drag or smash drive, and we're going to, right? Like when you're boring, kids are going to be bored. I think it's the excitement and the passion from a coach. When you're excited on the whiteboard and you're, like almost losing your mind, like I know I have before, like kids are into it and they pay attention. If you're up there just droning on, they've checked out. They can smell fake a mile away. Those kids, they're very good at that. So
very smart.
I think that's a big piece of it too. Matt, do you have anything before we ask our final question?
I really don't. I really like how he puts everything into the buckets.
Me too.
I'd like to dive more into this on how he figures out which bucket he's going to put it in, because there's some plays where I'm like, man, this play could really go into multiple buckets and multiple ways to teach it. So like that's the only thing I'm going to be now trying to break out all my past stuff and go, okay, what bucket of his am I putting it in? That's my homework for the week.
Coach, that's a great point. I should have said that because when I talk about this stuff, I usually mention that, but I'm shooting from the hip, so some of the small details are skipping me right now. I'm too old. But no, you can make arguments on certain stuff. Like, do I put this in key progression? Do I put it in movement key? Do I make this a scan read or do I make it a peer progression? You can definitely make arguments, but like you hit the nail on the head. It's how do you want to teach it? How do you want to coach it? More than one way to skin a cat, as they say up here in the hills of East Tennessee. And certain ones you can argue, man. Like I said, how we do it is just the way we do it. And don't make definitely sometimes debate. Hey, Coach, I think we could put that in that bucket. So it gets good. That's a good question.
It's a fun game.
I love it. Yeah. No, I think it's a good exercise too, to always go back and look at your stuff. I think me and Coach Dixon have this exercise every year. We go back and we go like back through our playbooks and talk about all these things. And I haven't coached down a football in 3 years, and I think I still do it every year. I'm like, all right, what would I do here? Where does this fall? Maybe we need to rename this or do whatever. So I spend plenty of time on that.
Along that same route, or that same concept, we had arguments in the coaching staff and that same coaching staff amongst the offensive coaches. Well, we're calling all our quick passes cities, but don't we want him taking a 3-step when we have a go and a 4-step out? So shouldn't that not be like, so we have to figure out, do we want to be based on the quarterback's footwork or do we want to base it on how we're reading it? We always kind of tended to go towards the quarterback's footwork, whether it was a 1-step, 3-step, 5-step, whatever we're trying to do. But I like this is going to make me think about some things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do all the time. I do all the time as well.
All right, Coach. So every podcast, at the end of the podcast, we ask every single coach this question. Okay. What is the coolest or most unique thing that you've been a part of? And this can be off-field or on-field in your X amount of years coaching. What's the coolest or most unique thing that you've been a part of in football?
That's tough, man. Because
that's why we ask it, Coach. We ask that to every single coach that comes on. So
I love it. I've had a bunch. I've been really blessed to coach good players, so therefore I've got a lot of great memories in coaching. But I am a ball nut. My wife can attest. But I've got to go with 2023. I got to do the ultimate for me. If somebody's not got to do much, I got to do the ultimate. I got to go to the New York Giants OTA. I got to sit in quarterback meetings. I got to sit in staff meeting. I got to sit in team meetings. Got to watch OTA. Got to go to Coach Dayball's house after practice was over that day. Got to go over to the Jets facility and spend time in a room with Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing. Got to learn what they called at that time Aaron Rodgers' 3 favorite plays. That was like Disney World for me. I spent 2 days in New York, and it was through a connection I had through a kid I coached his father who played 11 years NFL, and that was the ultimate football experience. for a ball nut like me. Like I came out of there like wanting to like redo everything I've ever done about football, because it was just awesome.
All right, now I got to ask the follow-up question. What's the coolest concept or thing you learned over those 4 days? You got to pick one thing that you learned and tell me what it was.
Oh,
I got to know now, right? Like I don't get that much access either.
One.
So
I learned a lot. God, yeah. I wanted to come back and redo our whole playbook. Yeah, I mean, I'm a networker, and I ended up getting the quarterback coach's phone number, the O-line coach's phone number, the guys at the Jets' phone number, and I'm texting them, zooming them, and those guys were awesome to me. But Coach Dayball calls me. We're at his house, just ate dinner. His wife made an awesome dinner, and he's like, Josh, come in here. And he's in his office, and he's got this nice office as you can only imagine at his house. And he's like, if I teach you this play, the only rule is you've got to install it. And I said, Coach, buddy, I'm not afraid to install something. We got 118 pass plays. Why in the world we would not want to have 119, right? And I said that jokingly. But anyways, so he teaches me one of the most basic plays, but it is freaking good. He did it. He said he did it when he had Beasley in Buffalo, and he said he had like 40-something catches or something one season or whatever on this one particular play and route. So get in empty, 3x2, 3 receivers through the field. All right, number 1, vertical. Number 2, got what he calls the widen seam, must outside release. Try to get that flat defender to widen a little bit. Number 3 is going to run a 6-yard option route. He can go in, he can go out, or he can hook it up. All right, he's going to run an option route off the near inside linebacker. All right, boundary number 1 is going to run a vertical. Boundary number 2 is going to run a 10-yard option route. Now, we call them different names so they don't get confused. So in our offense, one's called an option route, one's called a read route. So they have different rules, right? So he's got a 10-yard read route, what we call it, and he can go out or he can hook up. He cannot go in. All right, so that's his 2 options. And the quarterback just reads it, field the boundary. He works off the shorter option route first. If it's not there, he goes to the read route in the boundary. And you're pretty much, a lot of people play split safety in our deal, play split safety versus empty. So you just got at number 3, hopefully a really good athlete, and he's playing off a Mike linebacker, and he's running an option route off the Mike linebacker, and he made me. I'm a man of my word. We put it in, and we run the heck out of
it. What do you call
it? We call it play. You can. I don't care. We call it playground.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you called it like day ball or something.
One word.
Like
that's what he called it. He called it playground, so that's what I call it. So
fair enough, right? Don't change it.
Edit anything. And so it's a one-word call for us. Everything's built in. We don't formation it or anything. Protection, everything's built in. We just say playground, and everybody knows where to go and what to do.
Oh, I love that. There we go, Matt. That's a great football answer off that question.
Excellent football answer. And if you remember, we used to run a similar concept. Yeah. We called Patriot. But the only difference is we would take number 2 to the strength, and he would run like a skinny post. 2 high, our quarterback knew to go to the field. 1 high, they rotate strong. We're going back to the boundary to the 2-man side.
Yeah.
And you stuff. We had a short, shifty running back. You would put him at 3 right there. What was Chris Martinez, right? Was that his name?
Yeah, and at the previous school, it was little Muscoti kid we had.
Yeah. Yep. So there we go, dropping 2 kids that will never listen to this podcast, but at least we're talking about you. We remember you, so there you go.
Awesome.
Still remember.
I love it. Well, Coach Jones, thanks for hopping on tonight. I know we couldn't get the presentation to work, but I got to be honest with you, it's pretty fun and entertaining regardless without the presentation. It may have been a little more fun. So,
well, I probably missed a lot of my. I love small coaching quips. I'm a big details guy, so I probably missed half of the stuff I needed to talk about. But hopefully, you got at least a little bit understanding, a little bit out of it. Guys, feel free to, if you're listening, you want to follow me on Twitter, BHS Coach Jones, at BHS Coach Jones. If I can do anything to ever help, you want to reach out, talk ball. I've got multiple presentations I've spoke at clinics before throughout the years. Don't mind a bit to share any of them, from stick to RPO to pass game organization and a variety of things. And like I said, everything I've learned from somebody else. So it's only fair and right of me to pass on to other people, because people's always been good to me about letting me learn and pick their brains and much smarter than me.
which is awesome. I don't think you could have better stated the mission statement of the Board Drill podcast right there, other than it's just to help high school football coaches across the country. So we do that through connecting coaches. And if you're still listening and you're in the Jacksonville area, we got a Board Drill coaches meetup coming up. Coach Jones, we're going to pitch it to you. Not that you're going to be there, but we kind of went against the traditional clinic thing. We're kind of doing a coach's social networking thing. We're going to have a couple whiteboards there. We're going to have 3 speakers, but they're only talking for 30 minutes, about 4 hours. And we're only charging $10 a coach and providing beer. So I think it's a pretty good deal for coaches.
Buddy, ball. You talk ball. You talk beer. You talk food. You're gonna get overflow of coaches.
That's what we're hoping, right? We're limiting it to 30 coaches. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, go ahead and get signed up. Link is down low in the description as well. Coach Jones, once again, thanks for hopping on. We appreciate you coming on tonight. And heck, it sounds like maybe we need to get you on again in the future. Maybe we'll get a different presentation working.
Buddy, anytime I can help, I'm always available. Would love to. Thank you for having us on. Thank you for allowing us the time and anything. And if we can ever do anything to help you guys, just reach out.
Awesome. Perfect. So for me and Matt and Board Drill Podcast, we'll see you next week.